Hi, it's Dee from Inspired Health by Dee, and I'm really excited to be here today to chat about endometriosis and hope. And I wanted to welcome my guest today, Angelika from Ameos. Welcome.
Hi Dee, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear your journey and your message. So I work with a lot of women with endo in my naturopath clinic, and I'm quite active on a lot of the social, the Facebook groups for endo. And I just see that there's so many women suffering with endo and with period pain. And I know that for me, with my own endo journey, that when things were really, really bad, that I didn't feel like I had any hope. I thought when I looked forward to the future, that I would always be in pain and that endo would always rule my life. And, you know, all those things that come with it, like how am I going to pay for surgeries and how am I going to, make it like carrying the heat packs in your bag and all those things that come with having endo. But fast track 5 years since my own endo surgery and lots of changes with my nutrition and supplements. And I regularly see a pelvic physio and a chiropractor. And at the moment, my endo is well managed. And I was thinking about, well, how can I provide hope back to the endo community? And I thought, well, why not interview others who are doing cool things in their communities and living with endo? And so today I'm excited to hear your story. So did you want to start off by telling us a little bit about your endo journey?
Yeah, sure. So I basically just remember having endo ever since I got my period. It probably wasn't straight away. I got my period when I was 12. I remember being about 15 and a half or so, like finding out that I had endo. I was pretty fortunate, I guess, because my mum had it. So I know that a lot of people sort of have that 7 to 10 years sort of diagnosis time frame. So I do consider myself a little bit lucky from that perspective. But that in itself was tough, being that age and having to go through that. You see other girls just being able to be their normal teenage self, and you're, having to miss out on the fun things and, go through the pain and have surgery and all that sort of stuff. So it definitely, one, matures you a lot quicker. And secondly, it just makes things difficult because you do sit there and go, why me? Like, why does everyone else get to have like great teenage years and I'm stuck with this? So that's not to say that I didn't have great times, but it just is what it was. But from then on, that sort of started my endo journey. So all I can sort of think of is every sort of 2.5 to 3 years from then on, like I had the reoccurrence of endo sort of creeping back in. I've had 7 surgeries since. And those surgeries have varied. I've had ones where it's been, what's classed as stage 1, all the way through to stage 4. So, stage 4 endo everywhere. I've had rectovaginal nodules, severe adhesions. I've had kidney on my endo on my kidney ureter. Yeah. Sorry, I always stumble on that one. And those are things where when it starts becoming outside the pelvic area per se, like that's when it does get a little bit tough. And I think, some of the struggles that I've been through, like on that journey is, I've had, obviously technology is getting better now, so it's probably not as what it was, a few years ago. But, I remember I lived out in Broome, so top part of Perth. And I was, I remember a few specific moments in that time where, one, I was living there by myself, so I had no friends, no family. I was there for work. And from what I now know, it was, assisted birth, but it was a pretty hectic one. So I had to drive myself to the hospital. Mind you, it's Broome, so it's like 2-minute drive. But I still drove. And, they're regional hospitals, so they have no like, I mean, I'm sure there's great doctors everywhere, but they didn't really know how to deal with it. And I find metro hospitals don't either, but anyway. So I just remember, like, I was bawling my eyes out, screaming, and just horrific pain, and they were busy. I ended up having to lie on the floor, and after about an hour or so, I had to go and ask for pain relief. Like, they didn't even offer it to me, or ask me if I'd taken any. And because, like, you're in so much pain, you don't even think about it at the time. Like, it wasn't like I should be asking for something. And they give you is Panadol, because they don't give you anything stronger until,
it doesn't even touch the sides, like.
Yeah, until you've essentially been taken through to proper emergency ward or whatever. And then once you're in there, sure, other women have experienced this. You go in there, they do the checks, and you get an ultrasound, and then if it is the cyst that's burst, there's nothing they can do for it anyway. So at least you might get some good drugs to take with you to touch the pain, and then they send you on your way. So that's something that will sit with me for a while, because it was a lonely time. Like, I didn't have any support, and they weren't that helpful or understanding. Like, I think in those circumstances, like, I know that hospitals don't deem it as necessarily like life-threatening or anything like that, but I think it should be treated a lot more seriously than they take it. It's a significant amount of pain. Like, even just endo in general, I think, has been one of the top 20 painful conditions in the world. So like, I think there should be more understanding around that when we present to EDs and stuff. With that sort of pain.
100% agree. I had a similar experience, which the stories on my website as well, is that I was at my sister's wedding, and the day after the wedding, I had excruciating pain and ended up having to go to hospital. And it was same thing, rural hospital. And they didn't even have an ultrasound machine like that.
Oh, wow.
It was tiny little town. And you just think, wow, like I live in Sydney, so I have access to a lot of those really good hospitals. And I just really feel for the women who live in rural areas and don't have access to that. That's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah. And because of that episode, and obviously at that point, I had, I think, maybe 2 or 3 surgeries already. I kind of knew what it was like, what's going on. And I knew that it was around that time that I sort of was getting close to being sort of due for another surgery. So, I had an ultrasound there, and they said, we didn't really see anything. Again, technology back then wasn't that great as it is now. But I knew my body, and I knew something was wrong. So I still went down the path of arranging a surgery, and I knew that it was there. And it was funny because 2 weeks after, they rang me, that hospital rang me and said, just wondering, like, have you done anything, since we did the ultrasound for you? And I said, why's that? And he said, I've just had a second look over it, and we've realised that there's, a big nodule like in there. That was the first time I'd had the rectovaginal nodule. And I was like, yeah, I actually did do something about it, because I didn't believe that there was nothing there. And there was. And he was genuinely, like, you could hear it in his voice, he was a bit scared, because I don't know what you can sort of do about those things, but that's where I feel for a lot of women that get told, it's not there, and get dismissed and whatever, and then those sorts of events occur. So it's not their fault necessarily, but these are the people that we entrust to look after our health, and and it's disappointing when we get let down. From that.
That's so common, because I think it goes back to endo's just not that well known, and it's not that well researched, and so you could just get a junior gyno or a junior doctor who just doesn't know much about it, and then it's not. I don't think it's that it's not that they're being negligent. It's just that they only are dealing with what they actually know, and so. I guess it just kind of points to the whole thing of make sure you see somebody that actually knows, like, specialised in endo.
Yeah, and I think, like, I'm not sure if it's a thing, but I think if you can get a hold of your scans or anything like that, I think you can actually take them to another doctor and have them assess them as well. So if you think that someone's reported on them and you generally think that they've missed something, or you just want a second opinion, I'm pretty sure that you can actually do that. And I wasn't aware that was an option. Like, you just entrust again, like, that whoever's reported on it, like, just knows. But with anything, you can request that information because you have the right to it.
It's your history, and so having those photos from surgery as well, you can request your surgery photos, and often you can take them to another specialist, or like scans as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So so those are some sort of standout moments throughout my endo journey, and then on, I just, from that experience, I just I lost trust. And that's when, if something was wrong, I always advocated for myself, because your body telling you something's not okay, like, you go and do something about it. If a doctor just fobs you off, well, I'll go find another doctor that's going to take me seriously. And I still do that to this day, and that's what's kept me in good graces, and fortunately has me where I am today. Needless to say, I still have experienced moments of frustration with doctors, but I think if you trust yourself and believe that you can manage it as best as you can, it's possible. And I think I want to give people that hope that it definitely is possible.
Yeah. When was your last surgery?
It was last year, actually, in May. Okay. So that was the one where I had the kidney, like the urea involvement. That was tough. That's probably my toughest one so far, I feel. Maybe just because I'm getting a bit older too. I found, like, as the older I'm getting, it's the recovery time's getting a bit longer. But it was one of those things where I'd have this sort of niggling right-hand side pain that was there before the surgery, but then after the surgery it sort of got worse. And I was like, I thought surgery would have fixed this issue. Like, what is it? Like, so I always kind of went, is it my appendix, or is there something going on in there that they didn't see? Or, so a lot of those sorts of thoughts. And the surgeon that I had, he was fantastic. Like, as a surgeon, he knows his stuff, and he's very skilled excision specialist in endometriosis. Unfortunately, his bedside manner wasn't the greatest. So he wasn't the most pleasant person to sort of feel like he cared. And after the surgery, you have your 6-week follow-up appointment, whatever. And I just said to him, look, like, I've still got, I think this might have been like sort of still COVID-ish times. So, like, we did it over the phone, and I just said to him, look, I'm still really having a lot of trouble with this pain. Like, what could it be? How can you help me, type thing? And he just sort of said, oh, I've removed all the endo, like, whatever issues you're having is an endo. So you need to go back to your GP and basically sort it out with your GP. So I felt at a bit of a loss, because it was like, you're meant to be helping me. And I went through a clinic that, you know, we have, if you've got money, which fortunately for me, I've realized that going private is actually a much better experience. Now, I might not be sort of sharing a great experience with you, but I mean, in terms of the hospital care and different things like that, private has made it a lot better route to go down than public, I find. One of the things, side note, which I didn't know, when I've gone public, I've always thought that I get the procedure done by the surgeon that I've seen, and it's literally lucky dip on the day.
Yeah.
I didn't get told that. I didn't know that until I actually saw a report and it said like who the surgeon was, and I asked. I had to ask and be like, why did that person do this surgery? And they were like, oh, you know, this is how it works. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of women don't realize that. They think that they see the public like excision specialist. However, on the day, it could be their junior, or it could be somebody that's in training. And so at the end of the day, you're not getting who you thought you were getting. And so the outcome of the surgery can be very different. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So just a note to people who, if they do want to, you know, do feel like they want the best care, I'd highly recommend private, regardless of this experience that I'm sort of talking about now. But in saying that, that's what I'm here for, and to give you hope that even if you do have these experiences, what sort of avenues you can take to get that second opinion, or, you know, find out what's going on. So, so he sort of fobbed me off and said, you know, I've done my job, you know, like go sort it out on your own. And as I said, he was part of what they have now in a lot of private practices, I guess, is that holistic approach. So they've got the physio, they've got the, you know, the gyno psychologist, and they have that sort of team aspect. So I guess I was a bit frustrated, because it was like, well, I had to ask him what do I do? Like, he could have went, oh, you know, our clinic has a great physio. Why don't you come and see our physio? I just was perplexed that you work in a team and you're not offering me that. You're just telling me to go back to my GP. So I went back to my GP, and he didn't know anything about endo. So he was there for how I needed him to be, and that was great. He's a great general doctor. So he was good to me, but he was honest, and he said, look, I can't help you. You need to find a doctor that's going to be able to understand your issues a bit better than me. And I appreciated that honesty. So I ended up finding a GP that genuinely, like, she's just been such a blessing. Like, she has genuinely wanted to find a way to help me through the pain and through all the symptoms and everything that I've sort of been going through. So to anyone out there listening or watching, like, just go get that second opinion, find someone who will help you. There are people out there that will generally try to make a difference in your life. And
definitely. I definitely agree. Because having the support is really important, because it's not, I know you know this, endo is not just the physical side, it is the emotional side and the financial side, all the things. Having that support network is super, super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an area that I can genuinely say that it's probably one of the harder aspects for me, is the mental side of it. Because we all deal with pain. Like, most people I know that have endo generally have a high pain tolerance to some degree. So a lot of what we experience, the average person would probably find that's tenfold. So when we're in pain, like, we're in pain. But it's just something that is mentally difficult because you've got to be kind to yourself. You've got to talk yourself through it. I think I've sort of been able to manage that through my own self and experience. I mean, I do see a psychologist and I have seen a counsellor in the past, but those have been for non-endo related things. But once you start doing the work and you start talking about things, you actually realize how much those other things affect your endo. So I highly encourage people that may feel like they have any repressed feelings, or maybe have something from their childhood that they know has had an impact on their life, but they don't necessarily like deal with it. So definitely, it's hard and it's difficult to work through, but I think once you've done the work, you'll find that a lot of that stress is what actually impacts the endo a lot more. And then there's just the general mindset around endo and the pain. You know, suffering, we don't have to suffer.
No, there's so many different ways. I think, like you said, be an advocate for yourself and do the research, because there's so many different ways of managing pain. Like, you know, nutrition comes into it, acupuncture, working with practitioners that work with pain. So, you know, chiros, physios, massage, so many, like there's so many things in the toolbox. Keep digging.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to do it that are inexpensive as well. Like I said, you know, doing some of the self-help sort of work, you can just buy a few books and sort of read up on that. Dr. Susan Evans' Endo and Pelvic Pain book, that one's a really good read. Yeah, and I just think...
have you read, side note, have you read The Doctor Will See You Now?
No.
Oh, so this is a book that was written by Dr. Second. I think he's an endo specialist, or was an endo specialist overseas, and he wrote this book, and I have never read something that resonated so much as like an endo sufferer, because you just read it going, yep, and you're right, those books and things can be an inexpensive way of people to actually you know, get help. Yeah,
I think I was in a bookstore yesterday actually, and I saw another one. I think it was called Know Your Endo. I'm not sure who the name of the author of that one was, but I had a quick flick through, and that looked like a good read as well. I had some again, just suggestions to help you manage it, and that's where, through trial and error, you just literally have to keep going with finding something that works for you. Unfortunately, with endo, we know it's not a one size fits all.
No, because it's in so many different ways depending on where you have the issues as well. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that's one of the things that I value about the endo community, especially, I'm not sure, like I'm sure you're a part of it, but Nancy's Nook on Facebook, and even just a variety of different endometriosis groups on Facebook as well, you know, utilising their search bars and stuff. Yeah. Not overutilising though, like some people can get sort of caught up with like Google, like searching, and then they're like, oh, this is going to be me. And like, you know, I get that because I've been there before, and you know, especially with my like kidney ureta, like I search that and then be like, oh my God, I'm going to lose a kidney now. And you sort of start going like worst case scenario type stuff. And it's easier said than done, but that's for my own peace of mind. But you know, I can probably encourage people that if they're, you know, say medications or, you know, what to take to a surgery, those are other things that those communities are great for as well. The unfortunate thing that I see on Instagram, though, is whilst it's great to advertise endometriosis awareness and, you know, some of the things that people post are absolutely fantastic. I love some of the things that people are coming out with, like just the truth around endo, how it can affect us, you know, just so people get a bit more of a perspective on what it is that we actually endure. You know, not just physically, but as I said, mentally, financially, socially, like so many, pretty much every aspect of a person's life is affected when you've got endo in one way or another. And which is fantastic. I suppose one of the things, and this is something that I sort of had an epiphany on the other week, which is where I'm going to sort of start directing my page in that direction, is that we tend to get stuck in this loop of that kind of victim mentality, but more so like that we need to prove or show off like that we're in pain all the time, that, you know, that we've got endo. And I think the things that we miss out on are the good days. Like, you know, today's a good day, like I'm not in as much pain as yesterday, you know, but we're only ever showing the days that we're ever excruciating. I think we need to sort of build back that hope for other people to go, you know, some days you can have good days. And I think it's the mindset as well. Like, as I said, I've been there. It's the pity party. It's going, oh, my life sucks. Like, endo sucks. Fuck endo. Like, I can't keep going on. Like, this is what the rest of my life is going to be like. And you sort of do get stuck in that pit of misery. So it really does come down to how you talk to yourself and obviously what information you're consuming as well. So I know I find it extremely difficult some days to be scrolling through or looking at people's stories and constantly seeing people suffering. And it's not that it's not valid or that it's wrong to post that sort of stuff, but it's sort of far few between. Like, for every 10 suffering videos, there's only one good one. And I know that's the reality of endo. Like, don't get me wrong. I know that's the reality, because we're all having a tough time with it. But I think it'd be nice to see a few more people out there, even just on the half good days, to go, my pain's a bit shitty today, but I'm going to give it a go, you know? And, you know, I think I saw on there the other day, sorry, just one thing I did see the other day, a great, fantastic post. I think it was Living with Endometriosis. She posted with a nighttime routine similar to what I do. And it was her routine of kind of, I think it was yoga, a mix of yoga and then like belly massage and sort of what she does to stimulate the digestive system, and obviously to calm down, like, you know, the muscles, stomach muscles, pelvic muscles, etc. I thought, this is freaking great. Like, we need more of this stuff. Like, you know, that's what we need to see. And I think that's the sort of stuff where instead of posting things like, oh, everyone keeps telling me to do yoga, or like, you know, this, that, and the other, post a pose, like post a yoga pose that works for you, or post a routine like that works for you. Yeah, sorry, you were saying something.
I was just going to say, I definitely agree, is that in those groups, there are a lot of women suffering, and I often say to them, like when I comment, those groups are concentrated with women who are struggling. They're the people often who are okay and doing things out in their lives are not necessarily in those groups. So it's a concentrated, you know, it's a concentrated endo sufferers. It's not necessarily a representation of the whole community, because there are women who are doing okay. And some of us stay in those groups. Like, I stay in those groups because I want to provide support back to them to let them know that they're okay. And that's exactly why I created the series, because I want to provide the hope that you know, you can have good days and you can have bad days, and it's just, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's a bit of jealousy and a bit of that sort of that feeling towards other people that go, oh, like, and I can see that, like, I've been there before. I've had that feeling of like, that's freaking great that you're like having a good day while I'm here having a shit day. Like, I get that side of it. It can feel really disheartening to see other people being able to manage their endo better than, say, you in that moment. But those are the days where you really do need to talk to yourself like with love and kindness, and just accept that, yeah, if you are having a bad day, instead of saying poor me or like endo sucks and this is fucked, like literally just be like, you know what, my body's telling me that it's just not coping today, and I need to be kind to it. And, you know, don't go out and get the junk food and all that sort of stuff that you think is going to make you feel better. You know, like, be kind to your body, because that's what it's asking for. You feed it worse stuff because you think that's what it wants, and it's the action, like, it's actually the opposite. And you're more likely to end up having a better day the next day from speaking to yourself more kinder and eating all the right things, and you know, yes, doing the freaking yoga, like, and those are the barriers that we need to push through. You know, I've been doing a lot of reading around like neuroplasticity, like the neuroscience sort of stuff, and you know, I think that's where the last few months like have really helped. I've had access to a pain program that has really taught me about like central sensitization, which is a term commonly used for basically hypersensitivity. So when I talked about that right-hand side pain, I genuinely think that that's a condition regarding a lot of scar tissue in that area, because it's quite close to one of my cuts. And I know that when I had my last MRI about a month or two ago, there was no significant endo found on the MRI. That's not to say that I don't have endo, because we know that it can be superficial and you know, it can be in there. But the one thing that they did see was a lot of scar tissue. That's just as painful in itself, let me just say. So, yeah,
well, the pulling and the, oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, this is the other thing that people with endo, like, well, not with endo, don't understand, that whilst we might not have the condition, we're then having to deal with another condition as a ramification for it. But endo in itself causes adhesions too. So, you know, that's where people don't understand the condition enough to know that that's one of the symptoms that we have to endure because of that scar tissue. So, yeah, so the MRI showed that basically, like, I had a substantial amount of scar tissue. And that's one of the things with around the neuro side. You learn that the pain, basically the way that it works with the nerves is the nerves end up changing, and they end up trying to tell your brain that something's going on that, like, a lot worse than what it actually is. And we need to try and figure out a way to calm those nerves down and actually tell ourselves, like, the pain isn't dangerous. Like, if you've done all the scans, you've had all the checks, and there's nothing significant to show that there's any danger to any of your organs or anything like that, you've just got to trust it. Look, at the end of the day, if I lose a kidney or I lose an ovary, that's the reality of endometriosis. I'm just going to take that. And that's my own personal exception of the condition. And I know, as I said before, that, you know, you have to trust your gut and know that, you know, if a scan doesn't show anything, go get a second opinion and whatever. So it might sound like a bit of a contradiction to some people, but I guess with the newfound knowledge and information that I've got, you need to distinguish the difference between having the information and knowing whether or not it's a danger to you.
Yeah.
So for me, I thought, I've tried everything else under the sun.
Yeah.
I've done the yoga, which actually does help. It helps if you're consistent with it. Let me just say that. So girls go, oh, I've tried yoga and it doesn't do anything. It does. You just have to stick with it.
Yeah.
Trust me, try it for at least a week or two, consistently every day, even if it's just 10 minutes in the morning. I've got an app called Daily Yoga. There's literally a free video on there, which is 6-minute morning yoga. I just literally roll out of bed and just do that. It's, I think, 6 simple poses that you can do in the morning. Stick to it. Just try it. But as I said, I've tried everything and anything under the sun. And I think one of the things that I haven't tried is literally the mental side of it, the mindset, the, having that knowledge about how our brain works around pain. And obviously, I think supplements as well, in combination with that, is something that has definitely helped me. And I'll go through a bit about what I take and what I find helps me with those. But I encourage, like, anyone out there struggling with endo, like, just push those mental barriers, because that is honestly, I think, where the game changer is with endo. I'm not discounting or discrediting people's pain. I'm not invalidating it at all. I've had to, I'm literally like off work at the moment managing this pain. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position to be able to take some time off work. I've worked full time since I was about 16, 17. So, and I've never had what do they call it? The gap year from school or any other sort of significant time off. So, this is the first time I've actually had a moment to really give this a good crack and find out what it is that can work. And through all of the research, all of the trial and errors, I've done acupuncture, I've done massage, I've done Chinese herbal medicine, chiropractor. Like, I've done so much stuff, and like, things work. You just got to find what works for you. I'm not saying that none of those worked. Like, a lot of them actually work, and I still continue to do them to this day. But the game changer for me was the mindset stuff and the stuff that's coming out in, I guess, in that field at the moment around pain and how our brains work in relation to that. Oh, it's massive.
And it's exciting because it's things that are within our control. We can learn these things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's free.
And it's free.
Yeah. Well, to a certain degree, but one of the things that I think is great at the moment as well, not great, obviously mental health is not a great thing, but we can make it great. You can go to your GP and get a mental health care plan and find someone out there. Might take a bit of time, obviously, given current times in the world. Everything's sort of inundated in that field, but once you find someone, stick to it. Get them to give you the tools and the strategies to work through that mindset. And even if it's just someone to vent to, that's not in the endo community, that can look at it objectively, even better. And I think that's one of the things that I've been able to actually recognize, in that, like, if I'm able to achieve it myself after years of having this experience, like, I'm now looking at the avenue of, going to become a counsellor and work through how I can help other people with pain. And
awesome.
yeah, so it's kind of like a little bit of like, it's my calling. Like I feel like it's, you know, it's led me to where I'm meant to be in life. And I think being able to help through even just my small business as well has sort of led me down that path of knowing, yeah, what I'm meant to do with it. So I'm excited.
Can you share more about your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called Ameos. So I named it after my niece and nephew, Amelia and Oscar. And basically it started off with the ponytail hats. So you can wear your hair up super high. I've got one just here. Oh, give me a sec. Oh, I'm just going to show you. So it's got the slit down the back, so you can basically wear your hair at a height that you can't with normal hats. So I was finding I was cutting a lot of holes in hats, and these were like really nice hats too. And I was like sitting there like, I don't want to do it, but I have to because I don't like wearing my hair down. I'm a hair up person, like, yeah. So that's sort of how that originated. And I also wanted to find a way that I could give back to the endo community. So I donate a portion of the sales to the endometriosis organisation Quendo. So up in Queensland, they do fantastic work. Yeah, just what they produce, the content, the support, the 24/7 support hotline. You know, if you get stuck with anything, like, please utilize that. They've got their own app you can use. Just a fantastic organisation, and I'm so happy to give back where I can. And I do share a lot of content on my business page as well, so that people that don't know about endo, general public, just get that awareness out. And that was one of the biggest things. Like, anything I ever venture into, whether that's business, life, wherever, I will always make sure that I'm sort of sneaking endo in there somewhere, so people know about it, because it needs more attention in so many ways. So yeah, so I've got a bit of apparel as well. So this is one of the hoodies that I've got, and it's just got the like Ameos down the arm, and I've got 2 t-shirts as well. So as I said, a portion of those sales go to the endometriosis organisation. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you for supporting the endo community.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we've all got to play our part, I think. So I'm glad that I have an opportunity to be able to do that. And it's tough. It's been real tough. Like, there's been days where I'd get orders and I've had the worst pain, and the last thing I'd want to do is have to get up, pack an order, go to the post box or the post office, you know, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, like, can I do it tomorrow? But, you know, like, I think I just remind myself, like, you're doing this. It's not about the hats or the money. Like, for me, it's more about the awareness, and like, I just remind myself, like, you're doing this for others. So that's where the passion comes from, and the drive. So yeah, anyone else that's running a business that has endo, like, kudos to you. And if you're not, because you can't, like, that's okay. Like, you don't have to feel like we're super women and we're doing everything, because it's bloody hard. And we choose that. So, you know, I'm not going to have a pity party here and go like, poor me, because I have to do orders and I've got endo. Like, I made that choice, and that's okay. Like, I accept that. But, you know, it is tough too. So we're just out here trying to be like normal people, and we've just got to work a little bit harder.
Yeah. And it's hard on both sides. Like, I hear so many women that are struggling because their work is not allowing them to have time off if they're in a lot of endo pain. But then on the other side of it is, well, if you only work for yourself, yes, you get the flexibility to a certain extent, but you still also got to show up as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it's, yeah, I mean, I normally work full time, so I'm due to go back soon. But yeah, I know what it's like on a full-time job and still coming home and have to do the business stuff on top of that. But that's just me and how I work, and that's my personal, like that's my hobby. Like that's what I like to do in my personal time. So everyone has their own thing, and whatever makes you happy, I think is the key. Like we went down through the mental health sort of stuff. Like just keep doing what makes you happy.
Yeah. Yep. Keep doing what lights you up and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think one of the things, sorry, I just wanted to touch base just on some of the supplements and stuff, because you speak about being like a naturopath or whatever. I don't, not whatever, but like I don't know too much about it, but some of the supplements I've found that really helpful for me is just a probiotic. So try to take that nearly every day. One of the things that I've learned with sort of the gut issues that I've had is I always thought that you have to take vitamins like or supplements every day. Like I was taking like, because I can't stomach, I don't know what it is, something was in a multivitamin makes me sick. I don't know what it is, makes my stomach yucky. So I kind of just then started taking individual supplements, but then that was getting to like 8 or 9 a day. Yeah. So then I sort of realized like I don't have to take these every single day. Like just because the bottle says take 1 a day or take 3 times a day, like I'm not going to take them every day. I'm not going to die if I don't take them. It's a supplement for a reason. So I think if you're supplementing yourself, like, you know, where you can, it's better than nothing. So instead of taking those like 8 a day, I've split them into 2. So I take some half one day and then half the other. I definitely try and take the probiotic every day. But just a couple of things that I find are helpful for me is curcumin.
For inflammation, yep.
Yeah. I've found a vitamin E that has evening primrose oil, I think a few other ones as well. Obviously iron is a big one. And what else is there? I definitely take a magnesium. I take a magnesium at night. If you find that you have constipation from taking the magnesium, there are 2 different types of magnesium, so make sure you research which one you're taking. You might have to switch to the other one. I found that out the hard way, literally. But magnesium is a great one. I'm just trying to think. There's a few other ones that I'm taking, but those are the sort of the main ones that I found are really good. So, and I'm plant-based as well. So there's a few other things that I have to take, like vitamin B and vitamin D as well. Yeah. So yeah, highly recommend some of those supplements.
Yeah, and I find that there's usually like a few that are a bit more of like a foundational supplement. So they can be things like fish oil, magnesium, probiotic, maybe a multivitamin, depends on how your diet is, that you might find you'll benefit, I guess, longer term, and then you can add other things in depending on what's actually happening. So I do prescribe Chinese medicine herbs, but it depends on what's going on. So if you're not having a huge amount of issues with your cycle or a huge amount of like symptoms, like in that acute phase, then you might find you don't actually need to have those herbs at the moment either. Just depends on what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so those probably touch on maybe 1 or 2 other things that have helped me as well significantly. So acupuncture, would highly recommend acupuncture, finding a good one. And one thing for my scar tissue, and it took me a bit of research to find out, but if you can find a good one, like it works so well, is the stomach deep tissue massage and cupping. You got to start off slow. It's pretty painful. It depends on how difficult it is. Like the first time I went, my stomach was like concrete. Like there was no movement at all. Like the therapist was like, she's like, I've never seen anyone with something so hard and just no movement whatsoever. And I saw her, I think, for every week for the first, say, 4 weeks, and then we pushed it out to every 2. Because again, it's not something that's necessarily affordable for some people. But hey, if you can even get, like it was only a half-hour session, so that's all you need. And it just like my stomach and how it feels in there, and it helps with digestion, helps to get things moving. It's just, that is a godsend for scar tissue. And even if you think you don't have it, like I would still recommend to go get it done. Like if you've had endo, just try it. Like I don't see it spoken about actually very much in the community, and that's something that I had to literally find out myself. And it was like, why is no one telling us that this is a thing? Because I always like associated massages with like your back and, you know, everything on the back side of your body. Like I never associated like massage with anything to do with the front. And when I sort of, looked into scar tissue, and like you're literally like breaking the scar tissue. You can Google it, like, and once you've broken it, like it doesn't reform again. And I think that's terribly important.
It can help with exercise too, because if you're feeling like you're exercising and then you're getting a flare up, or you're exercising and then, you're in pain, then that can actually be the adhesion. It's not necessarily the exercise. And so things like massages kind of breaks it all up, so that then you can actually go and do the other activities that can actually have an impact on your mental health and, you know, weight and fitness and health and strength and all those things too. So I had a good experience with massage, abdominal massage as well.
And sort of to coincide that hydro, if you can get in a pool, it just takes off a lot of that high impact sort of stress that you might put on like running on a treadmill or, you know, whatever. You can do marching in a pool, and I'll tell you what, like I used to like take the piss out of it and be like, oh, that's for old people, whatever. It's hard. It is so hard. Like, depending on what level like you do, obviously, like I take it easy, but I see like women in there and they're like full boxing underneath the water, and I'm just like, now that I know what it's like, I'm like, I would never do that harder boxing under the water, because it's like it wrecks you. Like that is ultimate strength. And like from anyone outside perspective, you're like, they're just boxing underwater. Like, what's so hard about that? And then like after doing hydro, like I've got my program and what works for me, and I do the basics. I take it slow, and that's enough for me. You know, like you don't have to go hard for it to have an impact. Doing just slow, basic exercises has such a big impact. And like you said, exercise is, you know, that the great hormones in your body makes you feel better, and you feel refreshed anyway. You're in water, like you can just visually visualize all of the stress and all of those sorts of things just getting washed away, and you know, all that sort of stuff. So those
no one's ever said that. No one's ever recommended that before. So that's a really good
which part
of the hydro.
Because like you said, like with the adhesions and stuff, you know, it discourages people to exercise. And I know that for myself. Like I hate it, because I'm just like, oh, I actually talk myself out of exercising because I know what I'm going to have to deal with afterwards. And I guess that sort of leads down more so that the pain, the mental neuroplasticity stuff as well. But if you can break through that barrier, and look, it might be that you do hydro for a few months and then you'll find that you actually can. And that's what's happened with me. Like, I've been doing hydro for probably about 2 months now. And I'd do 10 minutes on the treadmill, because you start small. Everyone thinks that, oh, like, you know, doctor's telling me to exercise, so I've got to do half an hour every day because that's the recommended amount. Nah, even if it's 5 minutes, literally just start the smallest time. If you do 5 minutes every day, that's great. And then go up. And I found, like, after, like, because I started at 10 minutes, oh, I tell you what, like, it was tough. I would sort of have to pay for it later. But because I was doing the hydro in between, I can now do 20 minutes and I'm fine. So all of these things intertwine together, and they really do work. And I think it's just pushing the mental barriers around it. And I can see why people struggle and they go, nah, fuck that. I've tried yoga. It doesn't do anything for me. That's okay. If it doesn't work for you, like, try something else, but please don't give up, because there are things out there. There are ways to do it. You know, one of the things that I think you can do, I think with chronic pain, you can get a chronic pain management plan from your GP. I think you get, is it 5 or 10 sessions? I think it might be 5, but
5, and then you can go get reassessed again and then get another. Right. And endo's chronic, so
you can actually go. I've used that once for diet. So a dietitian, if you feel that that's an avenue that you might want to go down. But I've also used it for exercise physiology. Now, if you can find a place that does exercise physiology through hydro, there's your hydro sessions.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so go and find a place that does that. And again, it's free. So, you know, there are ways around things. There are ways to make it happen and try things. So it's just about being consistent.
Yeah, and keep searching. Yeah.
Yeah, and that consistency doesn't mean that, like, every Monday, like, you're doing this. Like, last Monday, I literally had cysts on my ovary. Like, I was so sick, and Tuesday I had an ultrasound. They were like, yeah, you've got 3 cysts on your ovary. So I kind of knew, like, something was up. And I felt a little bit sad that I was like, man, I didn't get up today. Like, I've made a commitment to myself that I'm, you know, going to have this morning routine. I do the yoga and I get up when I should be getting up and rah. And I didn't, but I'm like, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. It's one day. Like, it just means, like, the next day or 2 days later, I'll pick it up where I left off. Like, as long as you continue, like, you can't just go, oh, I didn't do it Monday, so I'll start again next week. Like, it's really about how you talk to yourself, and that you just keep doing what you need to do. Like, it's okay.
And be kind to yourself. Yeah, absolutely. So, just stick with it. And, like, if anyone ever wants to contact me or, you know, talk to me about it, like, more than happy to go through it more in depth or discuss things. But yeah, there is hope out there, and that's not to say that I'm going to have another, as they call it, relapse, or times where, you know, I'm only human. Things can get tough, and I'm not going to be, like, positive all the time. I'll have my days where I'm like, this sucks. Like, I'll still fall into that pit of misery. But I think if you can try and stick to most days being kinder to yourself, the ones you find that the shitty ones get less and less. And when you do have the shitty ones, you're a lot more kinder. So then by doing that, you're going to have more kinder days to follow. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I agree. So is there anything else you would like to share with us today?
I could probably sit here all day and talk about my journey and endo and all that sort of stuff. But I think, yeah, we've sort of covered hopefully enough for someone, at least even one person out there, to feel like they're not alone, and that what they're going through is okay, and that they will be okay, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. And reach out to me if you need. And yeah,
I really appreciate all that you've shared, your journey, and all the things that have worked, because I really think that it can resonate with lots of different women, and they can take what, wherever they're at on their journey, and learn from the tools and things from someone that's dealt with it for so long as well. So thank you for today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for letting me just babble on about myself, and I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. All right, I'll chat with you soon.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.